Right now, I'm in one of the biggest cities in Asia, if not the world. It's a gadget lover's paradise and at the cutting edge of music, design and technology. But I'm not in Tokyo. So where am I?
Also in this week's programme,
if you were caught up in the sudden Qantas shutdown, what are your rights?
and I try natural navigation and become a lost soul in Seoul.
Hello and welcome to FastTrack in Seoul in South Korea. I'm Rajan Datar. This is the first of two special programmes from this booming country. Once under the thumb of and then in the shadows of more powerful neighbours like Japan, South Korea is emerging in the 21st century as a dynamic global force.
Another episode of the historical melodrama Gebek rolls off the production line. One of many Korean soaps that are hugely popular, not just here, but right across Asia and beyond. During downtime in filming, drama sets like this one in Seoul become tourist attractions and the actors objects of adulation.
한국에서는 이제 사극 같은 경우에는
Period dramas in Korea have established wide fan bases. It is very popular because of old generations and other people who are keen on history.
If you want to get some idea of the sheer scale, the importance of these dramas to the audiences, well, think Bollywood, think Brazilian soap operas, telenovelas, and you're halfway there. This is huge.
Korean dramas have struck a chord, especially with Japanese audiences who appreciate their romantic side and nostalgia. And so soap operas have triggered the first of the so-called Korean waves in a decade-long charm offensive. One soap won a record-breaking 86% of TV audience share in Iran. For the first time in its history, Korea is becoming a major exporter of popular culture. And after a torrid 20th century, which saw Japanese occupation, destruction of much of the city's heritage, and a punishing civil war, South Koreans are very proud of their meteoric rise. The economy and creative industries are thriving.
South Korea in the past was so inward-looking and closed, it was known as the hermit kingdom of Asia. Now it seems that the shyest kid in class is the most popular.
Tourism, I think it's a really new thing for Korea. Maybe 10 years ago, I don't think anyone came here for tourism. And I came here for the World Cup of 2002. But other than that, other than a specific event, people didn't really come here just for fun. But now it's changing because of these TV shows. And especially for people like in other Asian countries like China, like Thailand, like Japan.
Last year, 9 million people visited Korea, the biggest group of the Chinese, who've made South Korea their favourite destination. Many are converted by the popularity of Hallyu in their homeland.
We've seen a 46% increase in the number of foreign tourists to Korea over the past 5 years. China and Japan only saw a 10% increase, so 46% growth is an amazing achievement.
After the initial success of soaps, Korean pop music, or K-pop, became the so-called second wave. Suddenly teenagers from China and Japan were addicted. This time, the Ministry of Culture and Tourism were determined not to miss the boat. They created a whole TV channel devoted to peddling Hallyu to Japan, China, and a growing global market.
It is propaganda, we can say it is propaganda, but it's the only tool they can, actually find right now to promote Korea to the rest of the world, I guess.
In the end, how cool is something if the government is promoting it? It maybe destroys the impact in some way.
At regular events like this one at the Olympic Stadium in Seoul, sponsored by a big Korean company, fans, young and old, are clearly enchanted.
We are from Japan and We love K-pop and we came to see the 2 p.m.
We have been grown up with Korean music and it reflects our images of the relationship and our thoughts and beliefs. So yeah, we love it. But I'm still curious of why it's so popular among the foreigners.
And the bandwagon continues with a new lease of life. Hallyu is breaking in Europe with financial support from the Korean Ministry of Culture and some major companies. A concert in Paris reportedly saw 7,000 tickets sold within hours, and now London is the latest convert. This is soft power at its most effective, culture as a tool of influence, boosting tourism in its wake. From shipbuilding to cars to semiconductors, hard graft has been the Korean trademark. Now, along with creative packaging, the digital media and technology industries are establishing Seoul as a state-of-the-art city. Perhaps the leading light of Asia, now in that field.
For a while there was this sort of Sony versus Samsung stuff, but Samsung has won basically. So I think there's this general understanding now that the Korean firms are a bit leaner and more aggressive, and you know, over time will probably outperform their Japanese rivals.
But there remains a suspicion that much of the hype around Hallyu, or K-Wave, is, well, manufactured, and the product itself, well, a bit vacuous.
There's some help from the government, and it's going well, and they invest in it. But I mean, that's what K-pop is all about. You know, industry.
It's an industry.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want England to be known for, you know, being the country of the Spice Girls, and so, you know, if I were Korean, I might question that, the value of doing that.
Some people say that this kind of the music that you do and the drama that you do is manufactured. It's not real. It's not genuine. It's not artistic. What would you say to that?
I can't say that I totally disagree with them.
Some people say that the whole image of South Korea is all about Hallyu and K-pop and drama, that you are missing out on other aspects of Korean culture. Do you think that's a fair point or not?
South Korea is not just about Hallyu. Many foreigners are also interested in Korean food and drink. And we're also well recognized in the cosmetic industry, plastic surgery and fashion.
But any doubts about how Korea's global appeal is being achieved are eclipsed by the simple fact that right now their country has assumed Japan's mantle as the coolest kid on the block in Asia.
Korean pop has started Hallyu, but right now for the future, Korean design is going to create more volume of business and value, because not only we can perform creative ideas on product and services that become mass-produced, and that is for the big world market.
So, will a thriving popular culture scene make it more likely that you would visit a country like South Korea? We'd like to know your views, so email us at the address that's on your screen right now.
Seoul in South Korea, a heaving megatropolis where the streets have no name and finding your way about on foot is notoriously tricky.
Here's the ultimate challenge, or nightmare. Imagine a world where you haven't got smartphones, sat-navs or laptops, not even a map or a guidebook to help you get about. You're a stranger in a foreign country. You can't speak the language. Now what?
Well, there's a growing chorus arguing we're too dependent these days on smart technology, ignoring our innate ability to navigate using nature. So I'm going to do some soul searching. My task, to find the famous rainbow fountain on one of 26 bridges that span the River Han, which crisscrosses the city of Seoul from west to east. Should be easy peasy then.
Actually, I do want some final words of advice from the guru of natural navigation.
The sun really is the first place to start. If you can see the sun, you've got to use it. It rises in the east every day of the year. It rises in a slightly different place each day of the year, and when you're there it will rise slightly south of east, and then it moves in an arc.
Don't let the sun be the one. Well, he has crossed the Atlantic solo by plane and boat, so he should know, but the art of natural navigation wasn't designed for the city. Anyway, where's the sun? I'm in the heart of Seoul's business district, and tall buildings are blocking my view. Okay, so now I've found the historic royal heart of the city, which is north of the river, and I'm now leaving the palace, which I know faces south. Any other handy hints? Roads and traffic, apparently, give you some good clues.
If you're in the western edge of a city, and you know you're somewhere near the western edge, then most of the traffic is going to be flowing in or out of the town. And the likelihood is the major road will be aligned west to east. Again, if you're in the north, it's most likely to be aligned north-south.
That's all very well, but in this city it seems like the traffic is flowing in all directions, and half the time there's gridlock.
In the few days I've been here, I've spent endless hours in very slow-moving traffic, and there's one guy who knows why that is all too well.
There are many urban highways in Seoul. Actually, there is a old city and a new city. Or new city has a very well planned roadways, and the other old city has a very complicated roadways.
Complicated? Great. And apparently there's a slight problem with street names.
The name of the street is based on the building. Now it's very hard to find. The foreigner doesn't know about naming structure, and we try to in progress to change it from the building based and the street based.
Well, the streets have no name. And not all signs are in English as well as Korean. Great. Okay, maybe I need a sign from a higher authority to guide me.
A lot of religious buildings are aligned with another place on earth in mind, typically the Middle East. Let's take Christian churches. They're aligned west to east in many parts of the world, with the altar at the eastern end, particularly in places like Europe and the United States. So have a look.
Well, this is the oldest church in South Korea, and it faces south. One of the best indicators of location is what fellow travellers are doing.
If you see groups of people moving in one direction, there's normally a clue there, because the average will be moving towards something or from something. In the morning, we tend to find large flows of people from stations. So, heading to work. Late in the afternoon, they're flowing towards stations.
Nice advice, mate, but we are in the second most densely populated city in the world. Even more people here per square kilometre than in Mumbai or Mexico City. Basically, people are going in all directions.
Okay, I've had it. I'm going to break the rules and try out this little lesson in Korean I had to ask where the fountain is.
Don't ask strangers, Rajan. You don't need to.
Excuse me? Excuse me. 문지고 번째 어디로 가나요? 문지고 번째 어디로 가나요?
I don't understand. The place name, I don't understand.
Oh, you speak English?
Yeah, I speak.
Oh, sorry, the Rainbow Fountain.
Rainbow Fountain. 무지개 분수?
분수, like water.
No.
One here, yeah, but that way? No.
지금 청계천? 청계천 말하는 거 아닌가?
By now, I'm getting lost and ratty and, well, hungry, and I genuinely don't know which way to turn. Even my friend, the city's traffic director, is beginning to despair of me.
Okay, I've cheated, I must admit. It turns out I've been round the block at least twice. The fountain we want is way down that way, but apparently there's an even better one that way.
There's just one thing, though, I have to get off my chest.
It's an awful lot easier from up here, isn't it? Anyone can do this. Okay, waterfall, fountain. Maybe they got lost in translation a little bit. But hey, it's very scenic. Right, let's see what else is making news in the world of travel this week.
The pilot who carried out a safe emergency landing of a plane carrying 231 passengers at Warsaw Airport has said he isn't a national hero and was just doing his job. The plane was forced to land on its belly without wheels after the landing gear failed. The Polish airline LOT, which operated the flight, said all safety procedures had worked and no one was injured. Up to 70,000 passengers are expected to claim some form of compensation from Australian carrier Qantas after being stranded last weekend when the airline grounded its entire fleet because of an ongoing industrial dispute which has since ended. If you're one of those passengers who found themselves stranded, Simon Calder will be here with advice for you after the break. And the world's first manned multicopter has taken to the air in Germany. The contraption flies using 16 propellers and is controlled by a joystick. The inventors hope the copter could be used for sightseeing tours in the future.
Hello and welcome to the Fast Track Travel Clinic with me, Simon Calder. First, where in the world were you over the last weekend in October? You remember when the entire Qantas fleet was grounded for 48 hours as part of an industrial dispute. Well, the Australian airline is now flying again, but plenty of Fast Track viewers were caught up in the chaos at airports around the world. Passengers have been telling me how difficult it was to contact the airline either by phone or online to make alternative arrangements. Even so, Qantas is legally obliged only to refund you for flights you were unable to take. But in fact, the airline is being more generous, saying we will compensate passengers for all reasonable losses incurred as a direct result of the grounding. So, if you found a replacement flight on a different carrier, as thousands of passengers did, then Qantas will pick up the tab for any extra cost, so long as you didn't cheekily decide to award yourself an upgrade to business class. The airline will also cover hotel stays and other legitimate expenses. Peter Jones from Australia's second city, Melbourne, is exercised by the demands made by airlines for proof of identity, not just for the passenger, but also for the person who paid for the flight.
I've been asked for colour copies of both the credit card used and the passport of the third party.
Peter, ticket fraud has plagued the aviation industry for decades. The introduction of electronic tickets has eliminated some of the criminal practices. The main problem these days is the unauthorised use of credit cards. Many airlines demand different degrees of proof that the actual cardholder made the purchase. Chris Wilkinson got in touch with me about an issue that I think will resonate with thousands of other cruise passengers. He discovered that gratuities to staff were added to his onboard account, and he was told this was for his convenience.
Is this legal? When I confronted the officials on board, they insist I sign a form to avoid the tips being added to my account. Do I have to sign this form?
Chris, if you want to do things the old-fashioned way, where you reward staff in cash after they've provided excellent service, then I'm afraid you do need to sign that form. Lots of cruise ships now require gratuities to be added to your shipboard account if you haven't already paid for them in advance, a practice that strikes me as the exact opposite of what tipping is supposed to be about, handing over money for a service you won't actually receive for months. But it's all legal, and the procedure for overturning the charges is often complicated and may even involve you having to cite the staff whose performance you're unhappy with. It reflects the reality that gratuities actually make up a large part of the cruise wages. Fortunately, there are still some ships where you're not obliged to tip. Finally, Saeed Alam flew from Istanbul to London, but not direct, on Lufthansa via Munich. Unfortunately,
our connecting flight at Munich was cancelled due to bad weather. The next connection was the following morning. The airline said it would provide a hotel room, but as a non-EU citizen, we were not allowed to leave the transit area. We had to spend the night in the transit lounge. Are we entitled to any form of compensation?
Saeed, I'm afraid you're not due any cash, but I hope your cautionary tale will help other travellers avoid finding themselves in your unfortunate position, trying to grab some sleep on the floor of an airport terminal. The German airline was quite prepared to meet its obligation to you under EU rules by providing accommodation, but couldn't do so because you weren't allowed to leave the transit area. I understand they gave you $30 worth of vouchers for meals. In future, either choose a non-stop flight or get a visa for the country where you're changing planes. Well, that's all we've got time for in this session of the Fast Track Travel Clinic. From me, Simon Calder, bye for now and see you next time.
Sadly, that's all we've got time for in this first of our 2 special programmes from Seoul in South Korea. Join me again next week when I'll be looking to see how Asia intends to dominate the world of theme parks.
And for more travel tips, check out bbc.com/travel, where we visit the Falkland Islands in the South Atlantic.
But until then, from me, Rajan Datta, and the rest of the Fast Track team here in Seoul, thanks for watching. Wherever you're travelling next, have fun, and annyeong. Goodbye.
Fast Track, in association with Abu Dhabi Tourism Authority.